What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another live, and today we're going to go right into it, and we're going to kind of keep steamrolling with that same color grading theme. And today's is called Unlock the Secrets of Color Grading, and I'm going to give you 3 of my main steps, the ones that I actually use to make sure that I get as close as I can to the color and to match exactly what it is that I want. All right, Anime Edits, what's up, man? What's going on? So I'm gonna dive right in, and we're gonna start with number 1, Lumetri Scopes. Okay, so I have some footage, as you can see on the screen, and as you can tell on the left side, I have 3 different Lumetri Scopes. So the first one is the waveform, which is this one right here on the far left. The waveform measures the brightness levels. So if you take a look at my footage, now I'm gonna make believe I put a LUT on it right there. And as you can see, it changed the levels, right? So we're gonna do, for example, just to measure the brightness of it, I'm gonna go to highlights and take a look on the left. And as you can see, it'll start going down because I'm decreasing it, or I could bring it up and it starts pushing up to that like 90 level, and it's like really, really bright. All right, so I'm gonna go back to 0. And the other one is the RGB parade, and this one is the red, green, and blue, and it measures those exact colors. It measures those exact colors level of brightness. Okay, so again, take a look at this one right here, and the brightness levels will go up or they'll go down. Right, it's pushing along that scale. And the other one is called the vector scope, which is this one right here in the bottom. And that one displays the hue and saturation of a color. So specifically on this image, it'll show you that there's a lot of green and yellow and kind of going a little bit towards the red as well. So let's say, for example, I want to make it a little bit, I would say, warmer. So I'm going to push that. And if you see the color, it starts going more towards that yellow ish until it gets to, let's go all the way in there. It's going to push all the way to that kind of like in between yellow, red, orange, right? So we're going to go back. It'll be that, or we could do the opposite and it'll push more towards that cyan, blue kind of color. Dope. So this is the scopes that you're going to go by instead of going by your regular eye, because it could be deceiving, or you could also have a screen that's not really calibrated. So depending on what lighting you have in the room, it'll display that. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you recorded in camera, right? So you always want to go by the vector scopes. And that's probably the number 1 thing that I tell anybody that's starting into it. It's like, make sure you get familiar with the vector scopes. It's not as complicated as it looks, but make sure you have that going. Make sure you get used to looking at that. All right. Now, now that we know to look at the vector scopes, we're going to go to the hue saturation curves, right? So let's say you have everything kind of, everything's exposed, everything's kind of settled. We're going to go right to the curves tab, down to the hue saturation curves, and we're going to go to the specific one, hue versus saturation, all right? And what this is going to do is that it allows us to pick specific parts of the image that we want to influence in color, right? And we have that horizontal line, which is the hue, right? And then if you go up or down, that's going to be the saturation, okay, of whatever color you're choosing. So let's say, for example, my skin right here, me in the middle. Let's actually choose a different one for this example. We'll choose this one, okay? And let's say we want to, I want my skin to be a little bit more orange, right? So I'm going to pick the dropper, and I'm going to pick my skin color right here, and it'll give me 3 dots, and I'm going to pick the one in the middle, okay? And it's going to be that color, which is, it's fairly orangey kind of. And then what I'm going to do is take a look at the color. I'm going to desaturate it, so bring it down, and it's going to give me, it almost kind of look the same. And then I'm going to move it to the red or move it to the yellow. Now I'm going to do the opposite and saturate it. So I'm going to go up. I'm going to go up right here, and oops, I'm using the, that's why it's not working. I'm going to use this one right here. Make sure you have the right clip the right clip selected, or else it's going to choose a completely different one, and you're not going to notice the difference. Hey, man, edits. Did you like the edit I made? Yeah, man. Your edits are starting to look awesome. They're starting to look better every day. I like it. Very engaging. All right, so I'm going to choose the dropper on my skin, and then I'm going to choose out of the 3 dots, the one in the middle, and then I'm going to saturate it. So I'm going to bring it up, and as you can see, my skin's getting a little bit more orangey, almost look like I'm getting the tan in real time, and I'm going to keep going. Let me go all the way up so you know the difference. So now it just looks way too saturated. And then another thing I could do is bring it more towards the red or more towards the yellow, right? Making me look a little bit more sickly. Or towards the red, which is what I usually go for, not too much, because that kind of signifies, natural skin, especially like fair skin. Going towards the red gives it a little bit more blush, right? More live. So it's almost like when the girls put like blush in their cheeks. It's doing the same effect. But anyways, so let's say I just want to leave it like right around here, a little bit towards red. Boom. Awesome, right? And then let's say, for example, another example of the hue saturation curve is I'm going to use a dropper, and I'm going to, let's say, my white shirt, right? Actually, let's do the sky. I'm going to do the sky. So blue, right? I'm going to pick the one right in the middle, and then I'm going to saturate it. So I'm going to go up, and it's going to give me those blue, and I'm going to go really blue right there. I could go the other way. Or I could desaturate it, make it look kind of cloudy, overcasty day. But now we're going to go blue, and then we're going to go really deep in there. Make those blues really, really, really strong. And obviously, we did drop on the sky. And so what it's going to do is not just going to use the sky, but the overall, whatever has that same hue of blue within the picture. So just be very mindful of that. Awesome. So we did 1 and 2. Now we're going to go for the third one, which is going to be the comparison view. Okay. Now this is probably one of my favorite ones because let's say, for example, I want this edit or this picture, this part of the video, the clip, to look exactly like a different part, or maybe like a reference video that I saw online or whatever. So for this example, we're going to use one of my other images, another clip that I have, right? So I'm going to go to the color wheels and match. And then there's going to be right underneath that little tab, it's going to say comparison view. So I'm going to click on comparison view. And then on the screen right here on the right, it's going to give me 2 different images. Now, I already have one set, but that little time right here in the bottom, the reference position, it's going to be, to whatever you want it to be exactly. Whatever part of your clip that you want it to match, the reference is going to be on the left side. Okay, so the one on the right is the one that I'm working on, right? So let's say, for example, I want everything I'm going to do on the right is going to affect the one on the right side, but I want it to look like the one on the left, right? So let's keep it going. And actually, the curves, the hue versus saturation curve is actually going to help out in that, okay? Now, obviously, on the left side, the image is very warm. So we're going to go ahead and first off, go to the basic correction, and I'm going to make the temperature a little bit warmer. So we're going to go, there we go. You see? So we're going to just bring that a little bit, maybe not too much. Maybe just right there. Maybe the tint a little bit. Let's see how it goes. If we go to the green, nah, we don't want to do that. It looks too much. Magenta, not really. So let's undo that. Cool. And it's a little bit brighter. So what I'm going to do is maybe the whites. Bring them up just a tad like that. Maybe not too much. Maybe just like that. The shadows, let's lift them up just a little bit. Not too much. The blacks are actually a little bit faded. So let's just do it on this side right here. It's just a little bit, not too much. Let's go. It's always, don't be afraid to go all the way to the end or like all the way to the extreme, because That's the only way to see a real difference. Obviously, it may be too much. So if it is, just dial it back, or if it's too little, give it up some more. So you want to kind of see what it looks like. So don't be afraid to do that. All right, so we're gonna go a little bit faded look right there because I'm towards the sun. Let's see. I'm actually gonna bring the shadows in a little bit more, maybe something like that. All right, cool. And another thing that I can do in that same comparison view, and we can finish up with this, is let's go back to it. There's another button under comparison view called Apply Match. Now, what it's going to do, and you don't have too much manual say in it, you will after the fact, but what it's going to do is that the program is going to detect that reference picture, and then it's going to apply that to the one that you have on the right side, right? The one that you're working on. So, and you know, face detection on because there's a face right there. And let's see what it does, all right? So I'm going to apply match, analyzing, and boom, it applied it right there. All right, let me undo that. Let's look at it again. Apply match. Let's look at the right side right here. And boom. Not too bad. Not bad at all. So yeah, that was it. Remember, we went through three different steps that I like to take. And I like to call these little secrets because people don't really notice this unless you've been messing with it a little bit more in depth. So it's going to be number one, make sure you look at the Lumetri Scopes on the left, and make sure I gave you three of the ones that I like to use a lot. You could use whichever ones you feel more comfortable with, but you want to make sure that that's the reference of color that you're going for and not the monitor that you have in front of you. The hue saturation curves, where you can pick an actual color and affect that color within that clip specifically and not the entire general picture. And the comparison view, as we have right here, where you can choose a reference shot and have that affect the one that you're working on currently. All right, so I hope everybody has a nice rest of the week. I appreciate you guys. And if you've used this or found this helpful, or you have any tips for me, let me know. And I'll make sure to shout you guys out. So again,